Once upon a concert season, a colorful romp in the age of coronavirus, written, illustrated, and narrated by Stu Fabe. I've written this book in honor of Eric Edberg, founder and artistic director of the Greencastle Summer Music Festival, and to our wonderful community of friends who gather for great music and fellowship. Ah, 'tis a glorious day to be alive and well, living in someday Indiana. The sun is shining and the temperatures are finally improving, and none too soon since the month of May is just around the corner. I pluck a few happy notes knowing that the opening performance of the Someday Summer Music Festival is just 4 weeks away. Given all of the effort I've put into recruiting such a rich array of musical talent, I'm very excited about the debut of our 15th season. But please, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sebastian Beau, also known as the Professor, or the Street Musician, or any number of other monikers, and I am the proud founder and artistic director of our popular little festival. As you might surmise from my picture, we inhabitants of the town of Someday are a uniquely diverse and colorful lot. You see, some folks are humans, and other more fortunate sentient beings, such as myself, are instrumentals. And while the humans are made of attractive enough flesh and bone, we instrumentals are made of exotic woods, polished brass, old ivory, bright colors, and wondrous filaments for strings. It's not that we think that we're really better than humans, but alas, we all have our biases, don't we? In truth, each group has similar joys and yearnings. We love, we teach, and we try to create a world that is inclusive and basically good, but we also suffer from the same slings and arrows of our outrageous fortunes. We can be rude and petty and self-centered. It's just the way things are for sentient beings. As my cello professor at Kissinger College used to say, we think, therefore we screw up. In the end, with all of our differences and similarities, we comprise a community of friends making music for friends. But I digress. As I stand here in my home den, I'm literally stretching my cello strings with pride as I think about the talented musicians who will grace our little college town every Wednesday evening through August. I look at my calendar to remind myself who will be performing which dates, and then turn my attention to their portraits. The faces I see staring back at me fill me with eager anticipation, and I've assured our occasional board of directors that will present music for all tastes: classical, contemporary, new age, jazz, blues, Latin, soul, rock and roll, and our own local talent. Yes, indeed, the season is locked in and we're ready to go. I sit down and begin leafing through the bios when I hear a loud knock on my door. "Enter," comes my tenor-like reply. "Enter at your own risk," I add with a chortle. My front door swings wildly open, and our board president, Cuthbert Kazoo, stands before me like a panting tuba. "Sebastian," he calls out, "have you heard the news? It's awful. It's just plain dreadful." Come, Cuthbert, nothing can be that bad. What has you in such a lather?" "It's over, Sebastian. Our upcoming music season is doomed." "Whatever do you mean, Cuthbert?" "It's here, Sebastian. The coronavirus is here in Someday, and everything is beginning to close. Shops, restaurants, airport, hotels, schools, sporting events, even churches. The authorities are declaring that everyone needs to stay home for an extended period of time. To put it in the vernacular, Sebastian, I think our summer festival season is screwed." I feel my strings go taut across my chest and try to comprehend what I've just heard. Surely we can get an exemption. I mean, they really wouldn't shut down the Someday Summer Music Festival, would they? Want to bet? And besides, do you really want to risk infecting great older instrumentals like yourself or any of the young clarinets, oboes, and xylophones that are in the instrumental nursery? I think not. No, of course not, Cuthbert. But still, whatever will we do? So many humans and instrumentals count on us for musical entertainment every summer. I mean, just look at this stack of portraits and bios. This is the group we've got scheduled to perform this summer. Now I'll have to tell them that the season's off. Cuthbert sits down next to me, and together we begin to look at the collection of talent before us. Cuthbert muses. It appears that you're leaning heavily toward the instrumentals this year. I certainly hope that doesn't bruise the fragile feelings of our human friends. Oh, they'll live. And besides, I'm sure we'll be able to work some of the better ones in. Now let's see if we can cobble together an alternative plan, even if it means streaming live concerts from the college or our homes. Of course, it won't be as thrilling as live performances, but Perhaps we can salvage just a small part of the series. But it won't be the same, Sebastian. They deserve to be heard live. Just look at the bios of these unique musicians. Oh, on second thought, don't look too closely. It appears that a few of them may be a little too spirited for our mature audience. Why are there numbers under some of their names? Yes, I did pick up a few while I was volunteering at the prison. Their sentences are up very soon, and they've all assured me that they were innocent anyway. Besides, they play marvelously and come cheap. And these bios say very little about their musical experience, Sebastian. Are you sure about these performers? I'm beginning to think the virus may have been a blessing for us. Tut tut, Cuthbert, they'll be great. They just don't seem to think that proper application etiquette applies to them. They're free spirits, after all. Well, it's a shame that we'll have no live performances this summer, Sebastian. This virus is going to be a major disruptor for a while. But instead of being awfulizers, maybe we can do something positive, like somehow organize a benefit concert to help virus victims and others. Maybe we can make that work. I bet the instrumentals will be game, and probably the humans too. Come on, let's review each of these performers and see if we can mix their genres and styles into a concert that doesn't sound like a saxophone humping a snare drum. Right colorful metaphor, Cuthbert, but I think you may be onto something. Indeed, let's take a good look at our minstrels and plan a concert before everyone totally freaks out and goes incommunicado. And that's what we did. Here's our parade of performers. Ricardo Bonton, the instrumentalist. Upon ditching his mud wrestling career, Ricardo took the next logical career move and joined the faculty of What's the Matter You, the only institute of higher learning in Garlic, New York. Fortunately, he feels right at home ever since he noticed that his fellow professors enjoy slinging mud as much as the next guy. These days, he enjoys playing multiple instruments at the same time. He likes his new faculty nickname, the instrumentalist, although he never heard it quite right. They actually say he's just plain mental. Aurelia Main, Sister Goldenhair. Aurelia started her professional career as a hairdresser and developed a formula for rapid hair growth. She knew she could make a killing selling it to balding men and women, but commercialism just wasn't her shtick. She decided she loves music more than hairdressing, so she bought the only radio station in Goober, Indiana, and sings away to the wee hours of the morning. She just can't get enough of that good old rock and roll. From Little Richard to the Beatles, she plays them all. Rock on, sister. Lorelei Drippin' Wet, As My Guitar Gently Weeps. To look at Lorelei, you'd swear she's just like any other guitar, but she's developed a repertoire for tear-jerking songs that make her performances especially popular at wakes, funerals, and tango recitals. It's not that she's sad by nature, but she learned early on that every musician needs to carve out a career niche. Plus, she has a special fondness for taxidermy and vodka mixed with embalming fluid. Claude Pong, the Blue Piano. Claude obviously loves a good buffet. He used to be a skinny dude until he discovered deep-fried mushrooms and chicken livers down at Catfish Holler. Now his only problem is his girth. It helps that he has wheels on his legs, but he bumps into people whenever he shows up. His buddies call him double wide, but he answers their taunts by going back for more grub. Bring on the hot fudge sundaes and hold the statins. Chloe Clarinetta, Benny's muse. Chloe really is a very good girl, despite what her rap sheet says about that stolen car and that little bag she insists contained oregano, and that sawed-off shotgun she keeps for special occasions. Hey, everyone has a few secrets, right? Gut Bucket Gus, a wacko for all seasons. Gus used to be the head nurse on the hospital psychiatric unit. Now he identifies more with the patients than the staff. He loves wailing away on the gut bucket because he finds the twanging sound so soothing. He smokes unfiltered Camel cigarettes, plays cribbage, and recites from the Prophet. Clarence Tuber, Have Oboes Will Travel. Clarence always loved the romance of the old TV westerns and felt like he was born in the wrong century. His favorite show was Paladin, Have Gun Will Travel. The only downside was that he was deathly afraid of guns, so he learned to play the oboe instead. Nowadays, he roams the Old West, playing in honky-tonks and saloons. He swears he'll travel anywhere for a paying gig, as long as the audience doesn't shoot or fling rotten produce. Ma, the Wizard of Yo-Yo Land. So when Ma decided he wanted to become a professional musician, he watched all sorts of videos featuring different players and instruments. He was particularly enamored with Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello, but he didn't want to be a copycat, so he picked up a few musical yo-yos and began swinging them around. After a few head clunks, broken windows, and a disastrous blow to a 20-gallon aquarium, he finally got into the groove. Alas, he's still waiting for that sponsorship from Duncan. Toots Snider, the Scarlet Saxophone. Toots is the coolest and most adventurous jazz musician you'll ever meet. He always wanted to play the sax while running with the bulls in Pamplona. He just thought it would be so cool to blow swing-era tunes while outrunning a future one-ton hamburger. Unfortunately, his reed got stuck on the home stretch and El Toro flipped his burger instead. Oh, Dios mío. B.B. Endix, drum beats. B.B. actually has a PhD in quantum physics, but prefers to drink cheap Shiraz and tell naughty jokes. She chairs her college's ethics committee and loves wailing away in drum circles when she's not contemplating the universe. She definitely moved to the beat of a different drum. B.B. isn't her real name. Don't ask. Beulah May Wackaway, the percussionist. Beulah May is one sultry hot tamale. Men on Harleys and golf carts are especially partial to her feminine wiles. Her father invented the popular whack-a-mole game, and she swears that's where she developed her talent as a percussionist. She loves to take long walks with her pet aardvark and can't pass up a xylophone shop or a fruit stand. Svetlana and Morris Fabishenko, the dancers. So what if they have 4 left feet? This Bolshoi-trained couple just loves to dance. In truth, they just enjoy hanging on to each other. And no one can match this smooching couple when it comes to ballroom dancing on roller skates. Alas, they claim they got dumped from Ukrainian Idol because of that unpredictable flatulence problem. Hey, jet propulsion is a good thing on skates. Varoom! Angelina Harp, a little lower than the Angels. Angie used to be a big car exec in Detroit until that fateful night when too much tequila pickled her judgment and she blurted out trade secrets. Happily, she's found religion in a new gig. Now she grows kumquats on her farm in Gnawbone, Indiana, and plays the harp nightly at the Dewdrop Inn. Talk about shifting gears. Cuthbert Kazoo, Sweet Cuffy. Before a bad bounce ended his softball career, he played shortstop for the Putnam County Mud Puppies. He was a gutsy base runner, but slid headfirst a little too often for his own good. He swiped his nephew's kazoo at an all-you-can-eat wedding reception and never looked back. Claims the kazoo is the next big concert instrument. Raleigh Lama, the one-man band. Raleigh is always happy. Always. He gave up his job assembling widgets for a Fortune 500 company and learned to play every instrument in the band. Nowadays, when he's not traveling for concerts in North Dakota, Idaho, or Indiana, he plays harmonica in a Swiss Alpine band. He also likes to yodel while practicing yoga, which really isn't very easy. Try it sometime. Professor Sebastian Beau, the street musician. Sebastian is a fellow of many talents. Plus, he's the founder and artistic director of the Someday Summer Music Festival. He loves to garden in the moonlight, especially full moons. His neighbors have come to tolerate his quirkiness, but insist that his howling and running around naked are carrying things a bit too far. Aroo! Ephraim Symbolist IV, the Brass Crash. Ephraim comes from a long line of famous actors, but he hasn't been able to maintain the family tradition. He likes to party too much with his friends, and they never go to the club Titicaca before 11 p.m. He loves to dance and clang his cymbals, but his secret dream is to travel from the Indies to the Andes in his undies. Flippin' Philomena, the flying French horn. As a young girl in Paris, Philomena loved watching TV reruns of Gidget, the Flying Nun. So she joined a convent and learned to play the French horn. Everyone applauded her virtuosity with the horn, but her naughty penchant for flipping people the finger wasn't as angelic as the good sisters had hoped. C'est la vie. Rudolph Max, the conductor. Before becoming an orchestra conductor, Rudolph had a brief career working on the railroad. He loved to hear the singing of the steel as the rails passed beneath his feet. His pals teased him that railroads are so old-fashioned until he told them about all of that Union Pacific stock he owns. Oh, how he loves to hear the singing of the steel. Tiger Lily, the songbird. Tiger Lily is an outdoor girl. She loves to take long walks to her secret waterfall and hums wistful melodies as she listens to the stream thrumming in her ears. At night, she wanders the fields and gazes at the dazzling sky, making wishes on shooting stars. Nigel Hopgrasser, the traveling troubadour. Nigel is a wandering minstrel who makes friends and music wherever he goes. He carries his instruments and worldly possessions on his back as he travels from one town to town. Many suitors have tried in vain to have him settle down, but Nigel is a free spirit who sashays from one verdant knoll to the next. Next stop, the top of Maslow's pyramid. Tambo Fingarini, the tambourine man. Tambo always knew he was a mediocre musician, but he didn't care. He loved belting out his favorite songs and shaking his tambourine. Critics usually panned his performances, so Tambo got even and often closed his act with his signature wave goodbye. Evangeline Verse, the gospel queen. Evangeline loves singing in the church choir. She gets all a twitter whenever the organist begins. Only trouble is she's louder than a thunderbolt smiting a sinner. Talking in tongues and wailing out hymns, she just can't get enough of that old-time religion. Karma Yak Dropping, the Eastern Star. When Karma arrived in America from the Himalayas as a teenager, she changed her name to something more pronounceable and learned English by listening to songs on the radio. She became a musician specializing in her Tibetan songs with a rap tempo. Karma often enters the stage riding her pet yak that she named Larry. Ah, assimilation is a wonderful thing. Abner Broadbelly, the affable accompanist. Abner is perfectly happy playing backup for the other musicians. He just wants everyone to sound their best. The audience always marvels at his spirited showmanship, especially when he does the splits on stage while playing Brahms' Lullaby on the flugelhorn. Pix, the happy luthier. Pix loves making stringed instruments. Guitars, lyres, banjos, violins, cellos, mandolins. Alas, she literally gets wrapped up in her work. Had to call 911 the other day when she got stuck somewhere between the keys of E and G. The EMTs finally got her free using a tuning fork and a hacksaw. Constance Q-Tip, the shroom soprano. Constance has finally found her bliss. Actually, she credits those funny little mushrooms she found in the back pasture. A couple of nibbles and she closes her eyes and finds herself singing a cappella, an angelic voice in the wilderness. Goldie Lamey, the Exterminator. Goldie may appear all chic and shiny in her gold lame outfit, but she's a deadly performer. Somehow she learned to combine musical harmonics with her patented critter killer exterminating gas, and she wiped out all of the vermin inside the performance hall. Sadly, she took out everyone sitting in the first 3 rows as well. What a mess. Mahalia Taj, the serene sitar. From an early age in Bombay, Mahalia enjoyed listening to her parents' Ravi Shankar records from the 60s. The celestially eerie sound of the sitar always propelled her to a transcendental realm, one filled with yoginis and deities with animal heads. She avoided Ganesh, the one with the head of an elephant. She figured the Republican Party had totally screwed up that positive image forever. Guido Gleep, the house musician. When Guido was hired as the music festival's house musician, he took his job quite literally. At night, he wanders around town looking for attractive homes to serenade. Dogs bark, cats hiss, and occasionally gunshots ring out. At 3 a.m., the cops aren't very amused either. The days that followed my visit from Cuthbert Kazoo confirmed our greatest fears. The coronavirus had indeed found its way into the heart of our community, with some residents falling victim to its insidious infection. Because of this sadness, Cuthbert and I felt an even stronger commitment to bring some relief to our community of friends by arranging a unique concert. Fortunately, every one of the performers saw the need and agreed to participate. The question of venue became paramount because Go Away Chapel, the ancestral home of the Someday Summer Music Festival, had closed its doors in the interest of public safety. So that's when Cuthbert, our board of directors, and I got creative. Oy vey, Cuthbert blurted out at our virtual board meeting. If that virus thinks it's got us licked, I say we take back our streets and deploy our musicians to strategic downtown locations. We need to declare independence on the 4th of July, and there's no better way to do that than to perform music by the Messiah of marches, John Philip Sousa. Virtually all the musicians had cringed when we told them of the grand marches we wanted them to perform. But being the patriotic gaggle that they are, they all agreed to play music they'd ordinarily gag on. After all, desperate times call for desperate measures. So the day of the concert finally came, and Cuthbert and I positioned our musicians on the courthouse steps, on the corner by the buzz bomb, in front of the Visitors Bureau, and at the entrance to that holiest of all shrines, Starbucks. Gatherings of masked instrumentals and humans maintained 6-foot distances as our well-publicized event was set to begin at the stroke of high noon. Finally, the courthouse clock rang out its dolorous 12 gongs, and I, Sebastian Beau, led our ragtag troupe in selections of marches, tributes, and salutes that had our rapt audience hypnotized by the spectacle. It was such a weird cacophony of discordant sounds that the reporter from the Graphic Banner newspaper stopped taking notes and nearly wet himself with a combination of awe and laughter. 90 minutes later, we were breathlessly and thankfully done. While the concert wasn't exactly performed as Cuthbert and I had hoped, since several of the musicians lost interest in the Sousa stuff 10 minutes into the concert, we had nevertheless kept our annual tradition of friends making music for friends intact. After everyone finally went their separate ways, Cuthbert and I perched on the wall under the buzz bomb to reflect. That was plumb awful, I declared. Worst improvisation of sounds I ever heard, Cuthbert added. It reminds me of sage wisdom I've learned. Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should. I agree, my friend, but look on the bright side. Nobody died, it didn't cost much, and we made the news. And just wait until next summer. The end.